I'm going to start with a simple question. How are you?
Um, I feel weird to say that I'm okay, I guess. I'm hanging in there, just waiting to see what happens, kind of
What
like
is,
everybody else.
yeah, what has this last week and a half been like seeing this thing, especially the last 48, 72 hours? It has just been lightning quick, it feels like.
Yeah, it definitely has been, though, to be honest, I wasn't entirely surprised with how quick things have gone. When on either side of the aisle when a group wants to get something done, they can really move it along. And we're kind of used to seeing them drag their feet, I think. And so when it does, move fastly, I think that it can be kind of a whiplash for everybody. But just kind of dealing with and processing like the impending emotions that will come up and are coming up that my rights and my community's rights are about to be very potentially taken away, and at the same time trying not to be a fatalist and being like maybe it won't happen, maybe by some divine intervention something will intervene. So there's that, and that can be a bit of a whiplash as well. And then, when they introduced, a bill similar to this last year, and we saw people come out in the same way, somewhat in the same way, to the Capitol to protest. And I think this year it's been even stronger. Um, and I have seen not just transgender people, but I've seen a lot more allies, like from within our own community, the LGBTQ community, come out and make statements, be there protesting next to us. I see it like within, um, and I'm not saying that they haven't ever been, but the CR Pride, our board, we are really focused on this and on supporting the trans community and speaking up for the trans community right now. So like it feels like I feel like I've got a lot more support with this than I have in the past years when bills have come up that have been anti-trans bills.
That's got to be frustrating then to have the feeling of we've had more support than ever, and we could be
Yes.
hours away from
Hmm.
it being a completely different story from last year or 2 years ago. Can you even put into words that feeling of more support than ever before? And
Uh-huh.
just by the hour, more and more, it's all for naught.
Yeah, yeah, it can be very frustrating, and I think there are, I don't have like any numbers on this, of course, but I think there are more people in this state who don't think this bill is okay, or don't, they view it as discrimination and they just aren't saying or doing anything about it, or they're just not aware because, people don't pay attention, to politics, that you have that faction as well. And I really think what we're hearing is with this bill and the people who support this bill is just a very loud, small group of people who want to, for whatever reason, take rights away, redefine what words mean. I've read over the bill very closely, and there's just words in there where like they're like gender doesn't equal this. And I'm like, actually, that is a direct synonym to what that means. Um, and so I think that's what's going on. And I think it's just very frustrating because people don't want this. That's being shown with the people who are speaking at the hearings, who are showing up at the Capitol every day protesting, and yet the legislatures aren't listening. And so it's just very frustrating because they're the ones who ultimately hold our lives in their hands.
What do you think is the biggest or are the biggest factors then in this change? There's been, in the last year or two,
Yeah.
there was corporate opposition that pushed back. And this isn't the first time something like this has been thrown out there in a state house session. Do you think that lack of opposition? Do you think something happening in Washington? What do you think is the reason for 2025? This is the year it all is moving through.
Yeah. That's a really great question that I'm pretty sure has a very complicated answer. I mean, I mean, we've seen the growth towards where we're at right now in the country with the LGBTQ bills, specifically the anti-trans bills. It's been growing since 2016, and it's gotten stronger with each passing election, both local elections and Washington elections. Um, and I don't know, the exact, I don't know if we can like pinpoint it on a specific politician or a specific person like some people might want to do, but I think I I don't know. I'm thinking like I feel like hatred sort of swings around, uh, if that makes sense. Like it calms down and there's still underlying discrimination and hatred, and then it becomes big again and it kind of goes right. So like in the 90s, I was a very young kid, but I remember hearing about a lot of anti-trans discrimination during that time. And it seemed like things were getting better and now we're swinging back around. And so I don't know. I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's just such a hard question to answer. I think we've just seen this growth and we finally kind of reached, I guess we've reached the year, and I do think some of it has to do probably with, I can't speak too specifically about it, but like what's going on in Washington doesn't help. We're seeing kind of a different direction in the way things are happening there than normal, and I think that is giving legislatures at the state level a push, and they realize that they too can kind of do things their own way. And I think so that is a big reason.
I'm sure from your vantage point, there's a very cruel irony here that we're less than 2 months into what was a historic state house session for the trans community, and Amy Wickendall having a
Yeah.
seat there, and now sitting next to lawmakers who are about to vote to take her civil rights away. What was the mood going into this session, knowing that there was a landmark, trailblazing lawmaker there representing Hiawatha, and now she's in the
Yeah.
something like this?
Yeah, Amy, I know Amy very well. And I um I can't even imagine what that would have to be like to sit there um with those people, who are arguing to take away your rights. And she's so, as I'm sure you've seen, she's so poised. She's so, whenever she speaks out against the bills, she's so poised, she's so confident. She makes really good points about like the realities of how this isn't just going to affect trans people. We're going to see decline in, we're seeing declines across like mothers having to leave the workplace because of pay, etc. Um, but she is a fantastic woman, and it's really hard for me, it's hard for me to see any trans person go through this. It's really hard for me to see a person I know experience something like this, and my heart just goes out to her every day for the strength that she has to have to not just absolutely lose it. And I'm really proud of her. She's not in she's like the next district over from me. So she's not my direct representative, but um, I think she's making her district very proud and how she's handling everything and, doing what she was elected to do.
If if this bill passes and it's signed, what do you think the future is in the state of Iowa for the trans community? Does the trans community feel like, in the non-binary community and everybody impacted by this, feel like they can stay in Iowa? Do you think there's a mass exodus coming, or what does this future look like in the next weeks and months and years?
I think that's an excellent question. And I think obviously I can't speak for every trans person, non-binary person, gender non-conforming person in Iowa. But I just something, and I'm speaking personally as well. This is something we've all had already in our heads, even before this bill was introduced, about like the possibility of, am I gonna have to leave the state? Where can I go that's safe? I've already known people just from the November election who have left. They're already gone. They had to leave, whether it was for them or they're married to a trans person and they had to get their trans partner out. Um, um, I think we will see a large amount of trans people leave, and I know that we had already been seeing a large amount of families with trans kids leaving and moving to Minnesota is a huge thing we've been seeing because of Governor Walz, accepting safety there, because they're not getting the care they need. So that's just added to that as well. I won't lie. I have been talking about trying to find somewhere relatively safe if I need to leave as well. The unfortunate reality also is we can go to a blue state and we're only so safe because of federal things that could happen. But I think we will lose a large amount of people who really make Iowa, Iowa. Um, without trans people, I mean, this is true for all states, but without trans people, there's a large amount of creative people, you know, and other people in their fields that are really great that will potentially leave. And Iowa, the state is going to suffer. And that's just a reality. That is really sad and grim for Iowa's future.
Are you a lifelong Iowan? Were you born and raised here?
Yes.
What is it like seeing home feel so
Um,
un?
yeah. Well, I mean, I have like my friends joke around that I have, because I spent time, um, I'll just briefly say I won't go into specifics for who, but I worked for 6 years in the US Senate. So my friends, and then I left politics. I decided to leave politics and pursue a career in healthcare. And my friends joke that I have a love-hate relationship with Iowa. I both hate it and I love it. There's so much I hate about it in the sense of like my town is very small, there was nothing to do. Coming out was not safe as queer, let alone trans. My parents have even left my town at this point because there's just like nothing there anymore. Um, but now that I have lived in Cedar Rapids for 6 years and I've found a community that I love, I've found people that I love. I have more friends and chosen family who are LGBTQ than not. I love the different experiences here. I love everything about Cedar Rapids. For the most part, I could do without the construction, I'll admit. Um, you know, that, and I also, as someone, while I may have quit my job in politics, I'm still very active in my community. Obviously, I'm on the board of CR Pride. That's something that's very important to me. I'm in the middle of my first year, and I joined because I have been so moved by the Pride festivals every single year that I have gone to. That in the one last year was so amazing that I was like, when they announced that they were looking for board members, I was like, I have to try to be on this board. And I've loved everything we have done this past year. Um, and the fact that we try to create a safe community in this current world for all of our LGBTQ people in the Lynn County area to come to. And I also think that Iowa can be a better place. It has been a better place. It hasn't always been like that. It has, it was the second, what was the, I think, second state to legalize gay marriage. I mean, used to be more progressive. I wouldn't say we were the most progressive state ever, but we were more. And I think we could get there again. And so for me to, if I were to leave for my safety, it would be hard to leave behind this place that I have grown to love. And that's what my friends say, I have a love-hate relationship.